Hello friends! Welcome to another Art of Wellbeing video. This time I'm going to share with you a recent project that I've been so enjoying. This is creating myself a wellness well-being workbook. So I'm inviting you to come and join me. Some of the supplies you will need are scissors, a stick glue, a black pen, as well as a notebook. I'm using one here with white paper, fairly thick, that way I can glue and paint if I want. And you'll also need a sheet of white paper, just any printing paper will do. And if you want to join me, you can download and print out the files that I've provided for you to go along with this video. You can find them on the link below or on my website. So to begin, I'll open the second page of my book, and I've cut out my leaves, my flowers, and my fence, and any text that I will be using. So first thing, I'm going to cut out the fence. This page is all about boundaries, as you may have guessed from the title, and I decided to make a picture of a fence. I thought that would fit in pretty well with this subject and this topic. And so I've drawn a fence, which I'm cutting out. So this can be fairly tedious. You can leave some blank spaces if you want. So here you can just cut on the dotted line. So now that we have our fence all cut up, I'll take my printing paper and I just fold it in half. And then I'm going to cut kind of fairly to the bottom part. I'm going to measure it with my fence. So I fold my fence in half, and I'm going to cut a little smaller than my fence. And a second one parallel to that, again measuring with my fence, just the middle part of the fence. I'm going to cut a third time, half the size of that, and then you just fold it to the side. This little one, I'm going to fold it just where I cut it. You fold, you push it down. Now we're going to open it. And this time, you take the fold and you fold it outward. So with both of them, the small one too. And that way, when you close it, it should look something like this. And I just push it down. If you need help, the back of the scissors works really great to make your folds. And then when we open it up, it makes for a beautiful little pop-out look. Now we're going to take our notebook again, and you can just glue it directly onto your book like that. I think I'm going to cut it out a bit. I don't need all that extra paper, and I can use it for something else. And I don't mind the little wavy look. So I'm just cutting wavy lines around it, and that way it also shows a little less that I have this big cut. So you place it in the center of your book, and you get your glue, and I'm going to put glue on one of the sides, all over the paper, just not on the folded parts that pop out, of course. And I place it down directly in the center. And the easiest way I found to do is just to close my book and push it down this way. Then when I open it, I'm going to glue the other side. And again, push it down. And then when we open, we have our little pop-up card into our book. So now I'm going to take my fence and the little flaps I'm going to fold in. So this one on this side and this other one. The flaps are just so that we can glue it onto our page. So you can see they're both facing inward. Now if I put my book up this way, you'll notice that it's a little bit bigger than the first pop out, which is perfect. That way I know where to glue this, kind of like 1/2 centimeter, which is perfect because it's the size of the flap. So I glue it down like this. And for the other side, I know that it's about the same space from that one. So I roughly glue it down onto the other side and then push it down for extra strength. And then when you open it, there we have it. And I wanted to just show you an alternative to the fence that I've made. This one I just drew from paper and I cut it out. I cut out each side, that way I can even see through it. It's just to show that there are different options you can do. So now it's the fun time to decorate our page. So I have my title here. I can place it here maybe, or I'll see where it goes. I kind of like try things out, see how I like it. I let inspiration lead. Sometimes I just go with the flow. I don't really have anything totally planned out yet. And I fold it in half, because that way I can glue it in the center of my book. So you place it where you want. I like mine in the center, but it can also go on the side if you prefer. Now I take my leaves and I'm going to start by cutting out and placing the bigger objects. So for here will be the big leaves that will go in the back. And all this is going to be placed somewhere behind our fence. We also have lots of other things to place on our page, which is some quotes, some journal joys. If you prefer your boundaries title in black and white, you can use that one. Maybe you can color it or paint it in. I'm going to actually start by cutting out one of my favorite quotes on this topic. I have two favorite quotes, and the others are extra quotes, more quotes if you have space on your page, if you want to include those. But I'm using this one to start out with. It says, "For our lives to feel limitless, we must learn the art of creating boundaries that protect and nurture the things that are most dear." So this is the quote that gave me inspiration for this page. And here's another little one. It says, "You flourish and bloom best when you feel most loved." So I love this one too, and it reminds me of self-love, self-care, that's the most important thing for my well-being, for flourishing, for blooming and blossoming, to be happy and joyful, and to be the best service to others. So now I'm just going to start cutting and cutting, lots of cutting. I'm going to start with my bigger leaves, because these are the bigger objects that take up more space and that I'll place in the back. Kind of like the first layer, if you want. And as I cut, I take the time to reflect on this topic of boundaries and what are those healthy boundaries for my well-being. As you know, Art of Wellbeing, this is all about something beautiful, something creative, and I love to add in any flowers and leaves, things of nature, so I try to include those into my little work pages. Mini pause moment. Speaking the language of no is a good place to start creating boundaries. No can be a beautiful word. Every bit is as beautiful as yes. Every time I deny my need or right to say no, a little of my self-respect diminishes. A little more of the light in me fades. It's a gift to myself when I can say no to those things that steal my joy or drain my energy or fog up my purpose. Saying no also becomes a gift to others because it gives them the freedom to discover more fully their own path, not having to rely on me. So I'm going to start by placing the title. I'm going to start gluing things down so that I don't get mixed up and overwhelmed. So I start by gluing half of the title. I push it down, and then I open up the book again, and then I place glue onto the other side and push it down. So gluing some of these leaves, I just put a little bit of glue. I don't even have to dab it all over. And I'm going to place them behind the little pop-up. So the only thing to make sure here is that when you close the book, they're nicely inside, and also when I fold the book, they don't fold up with the book. That's why I want to place them nicely on the side. Unless, of course, you want to fold your leaves, that's okay too. I'm using this one because it's skinny enough and it can close and still be on the side. So this one, I actually might want to glue it on the flap, or I'm not sure yet, or in front of the flap. I like it full looking. I guess it could fit here. And I'll leave the flaps, the pop-ups for flowers. So I'm cutting out this bunch of flowers. I have a couple bunches and then I have the rest single flowers. I like this bunch because maybe I'll put it in the back. It's kind of smaller flowers, or you can also place it on top of your fence. It's really up to you. It could look beautiful in any way. Anyway, I'm going to do a little bit more cutting. It helps, I think, to have a few cuttings already. That way I can place them and move them around as I wish, as I go. I have some journal joys here, which is included on the page. Just some journal prompts that I thought of for myself. And while I do all this cutting, I love to be reminded of those little prompts and questions. So I'm going to cut that out and place it right here in front of me. So as I cut, I can be thinking of those, already pondering, reflecting on them. So some of these journal prompts are, what is good for me to fence in? So what can I say yes to? What is necessary for me to fence out? What can I say no to? How do I set up those healthy boundaries? So maybe here I can list some steps of actions and how I can do this in a loving, gentle way. How does setting up boundaries improve my well-being? So I love to include this question because this is how it keeps me motivated. It's kind of like my why, my purpose, my reason for doing it, and where am I flourishing best? So maybe what things I do, some experiences, those I surround myself with. So those are all wonderful questions to be reminded of for setting and creating boundaries. So back to cutting my objects. I love this time. It's so relaxing. It's so quiet and peaceful. I can even have some quiet music to listen to if I want. So remember, this is your time, your special time for you. Okay, now that I have all my flowers and objects cut out, I'm going to see what can I fit or add to those inside pop-outs. I think I'm going to place these ones here since they're smaller. That way it's kind of fits into being in the back and it still opens up just fine. This one is a tall flower, so I can place it also on the flap. Now if you want your flowers behind something, you can just put the glue on top. And if you want it on top of something, then you put the glue behind. And you can even go as far as to have some flowers over your fence. There's no wrong way to do this, just the perfect way for you. So here these leaves, since I'm placing them behind a flower, I'm putting glue on the front part. And to add my beautiful butterfly. So here's the quote that I love. I'm just placing a few of my texts, and here I'm going to leave some room for the journal part. I might just number each one and then write my answers here. Another way you could do it is cut out each one and place your answers under each one. For now, I might just place mine here for simplicity. And of course, feel free to use the other quotes that I've added if you want to fill up your paper even more. And you can also decorate the page with the rest of the pictures. I haven't even used them all. It would be so much, but I'm happy with this amount. You do it however you want, whatever looks beautiful to you. And now it's some time for doodling. If you know me, I love to add that personal touch of some doodles, maybe some lines around the quotes. So it's very simple, but it just adds that little touch and something that you've made yourself. I also love to add some hand-drawn leaves. So my hand is a little bit wobbly, a little bit sore still, just because I've had surgery about 4 weeks ago for carpal tunnel syndrome. And it's still a bit wobbly, and I haven't touched a pen for 4 weeks. So this is the first art that I'm doing after that. I think this was such a fitting page for boundaries, especially after I've had that time to stop and rest. And now I want to set some healthy boundaries for myself, not just get back to norm and get back to overwhelm or stress mode. I really want to have learned this lesson of saying yes to those things that are good for me, and also saying no to those things that might not be of service or healthy for me at the moment. So fencing out those musts and shoulds and have tos is really a lesson that I've learned during this time. And it was the perfect experience. Not an experience I want for anyone, but it did really help me to slow down, be more reflective and pondering about where I want to go from now on, and setting those healthy boundaries. I really want to flourish and bloom and to be the best that I can be, and that's showing myself love and gentleness and not pushing so hard. So these flowers just remind me that if I want to become beautiful and blossom and bloom and attract others, then there are boundaries that I need to close off. Anyway, I'm writing the numbers here, and I'm going to journal some of those questions. Very fitting questions for right now. For my journaling, I think I'm going to include some lined paper, because that will really simplify it for me, not having to worry about straightening my text. It's not the most beautiful, but it's okay. I can just add it here behind the flower. And if you want to go even further, I've added these extra text. It's just repeats of this quote. So I'll show you the idea. You can cut them out. They're the same size as the quote. And because these are like the key words that I wanted to remember, I'm going to make them with a little pop-up look. So I just take a little scrap piece of paper and fold it zigzag, glue it onto the word, and then glue that same word on top. I'll do the same with the other one. And then we have another little pop-up look. So not only do the flowers pop up and blossom, but so do these key words. I want to feel limitless, and that's creating boundaries for myself to those things that are most important. And voila, we have a beautiful work of art. Feel free to add in whatever else makes you happy. And I hope you'll be able to come and join me for a lot more of these. They make me so happy, and I hope they make you happy too. Bring a little bit more joy and delight into your life. And of course, remember to take a little time to personalize it and to include those journal answers that fit you and your situation, so that it can be the most purposeful and meaningful for you for setting loving, healthy boundaries. And in case you want to come and join me and help simplify the process, you can feel free to download these, print them out, and cut them out yourself so you can include them to your workbook. And if you don't have a printer, of course, feel free to use old notebooks or magazine pictures, just like I've used in this example. These are really odd cutouts, a little bit from all over the place, but it can look just as beautiful. Thank you again for joining me in this little circle of creativity and wellness, and I hope to see you for many more of these. All right, see you next time.